All right, we're gonna take Gabby out. Oh, can we take her out?
Don't take me out.
Doorbells. Do a doorbell.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like
we'll do that.
doorbells.
All
We
right, we'll
like
do that.
doorbells.
Nope, wrong. Oh, how do we do that? I forgot how we do this. All right, who cares, ladies and gentlemen? we- Welcome to the Meet the Pressers Writing Shotgun with Charlie tag team show, where we get together with some of our previous guests and catch up with them and see what's going on in their life and what is new and exciting. And yeah, we haven't done a show in a while, Matt. So let's play a little
Too long.
catch up. What have you been up to, sir?
Oh my goodness. Traveling the country, certifying instructors, teaching classes everywhere, and teaching for the past year, teaching the 18-hour course all over New York State for people wanting to get their pistol license now that the governor slash dictator here in New York State decided to pass laws, even though the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional.
Yeah, so here in Massachusetts, we have the same thing that is gonna get it just got passed through the House. The 4420, which a week and a half ago became four. No, not even a week and a half ago. Became 4607, and then it became 4135, I think. Anyway, it's completely ridiculous, and it passed the House. It's going to require live fire, a written exam. It's going to require, oh my gosh, I think it's going to require de-escalation courses and active shooter courses just to get your license to carry, and then it's going to restrict places that you can carry to basically any place that doesn't have a sign that says you can carry.
Sounds like New York.
So yeah, it sounds like a lot of ridiculousness.
For sure.
So anyway, that has been that's what's been going on with yeah, that's what's going on here. But we're not here to talk to each other.
No.
We're here to talk to Gabby Franco.
We are.
Hey, how are you guys?
Phenomenal.
Not like I haven't said hello like 10 minutes ago, but
That was behind the scene. That was private.
Pre-show, right? Yeah, so Robert, you thought the New Jersey commies were bad, but in Massachusetts they really took the whole thing up a notch.
That's so crazy.
It really is, with 27 states now having permitless carry, permitless or constitutional carry. Massachusetts is doubling down and sending us back to the Stone Ages, and the progress that the progressives want to make is really a regress. So I think I'm going to call them the regressives.
Well, I think, and this is my theory, I think this would be the third place I mentioned this. But, often we think about the Second Amendment as, like it's our Second Amendment. But these individuals, gun grabbers, politicians, and anti-gun, the anti-gun mob, I do believe they have a plan to change or modify the Constitution. And I think that the big giveaway was what Governor from California, what is his name again?
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom said, remember, that they needed to kind of modernize the Second Amendment. To me, that was like throwing the goal for them. And so my theory, my hypothesis is that as they make these states more difficult, more people are going to start flying, leaving those states. And then what do you have left? Those people who cannot leave the state, and they are okay with certain, those ideologies. And what do they need to modify the Constitution? Right?
Yes,
You see, are you following me? I know it seems like a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think it's far-fetched. I'm looking at it as a perspective, as a complete outsider, that I see things as they're happening. You see how people are moving out, and people say, yeah, I'm going to Texas, I'm going to Florida, I'm going to a freedom state. I'm like, yes, but guess what? That's a big, to me, that's my thought. And this is something I've been saying. I think this, like I said, like the third time I say it, because it sounds like a very conspiracy, you know. But I mean, I think
Well,
is possible.
I've always said for a long time, it's either one of two things: either they're ignorant and they don't understand the Second Amendment, which could be some, but at some point you got to realize that if common sense sets in, those people that are ignorant will realize that, oh, this is a tool we could use to defend ourselves against the bad guys. So I'm starting to think that the other side of the realm is they just want the guns gone, because they do want to enact any laws that they feel that they want to, and they have no recourse. We have no recourse against them if they disarm us. I think that's the dictatorship, right? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I'm at this point, I'm at that, especially with what New York State's done after the Supreme Court ruling with SCOTUS, or the SCOTUS
So
ruling with
right.
Bruin.
Right. So this is the way I see it. So when you see the statistics in California, for example, that you see that who has guns, right? And then you see that there's like a there, and I'm not gonna say percentage because I'll be probably wrong since from the moment I read that infographic to today, right?
Right.
But let's say a very small percentage has the most firearms, and so on and so forth. Why is that? It's because, you know, like I always said, the socialists, they are very patient. So this is not a project of next year, 10 years. This is it has been in California for how long? Probably 10, 20, 30 years process where all those people who had the firearms, they get older, right?
Yep.
They get older. These new generations, their rights are, it's more difficult and more difficult and more difficult to get firearms, and they get older and so on and so forth. So basically what they're doing by default are disarming the population, not because it's an automatic disarmament, but it's because they are modifying people's perspectives. You know, it's a different purview, and once you don't have that thing, people learn to live without it, believe it or not, even if they know, you know, that they would be better with, like, you know, having a firearm for self-defense. But because the government has created this path that is completely, you know, towards ignorance per se on that specific aspect.
Yep.
So it's very tricky, you know. We cannot take it for granted as, oh no, it's our Second Amendment. I'm like, yes, but these politicians know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also on top of that, they're hitting the schools, because I remember back in school, or at least people that are older than me, saying that they used to bring their guns to school and put them in there. I mean, I used to see them in pickup trucks at school. It wasn't an issue back then, the back window of a pickup truck. Can't do that now because morals and ethics are down the shitter. But yeah, people bring their shotguns to school and go hunting right after school. They don't even want gun safety taught in schools because they want to demonize the tool, the gun. And you know, of course, anything, and Dan Wass says this, anything that they do not like, they're going to put a scary word in front of: assault rifle, ghost gun.
Absolutely. It's it is completely ridiculous. And you know, kind of what you were getting on there, Gabby, is if I do think if we move to other places, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say it hasn't crossed my mind, but if we move out of these places where these anti-gun bastions are, they're going to end up taking over, and they're a lot of them don't like their blue state laws, so they go to red America and turn red America purple, and they still take their politics with them, but they don't change. They just don't like it, and it's yeah. It
is complex. It's a complex issue, you know, because I get it. You know, I was young when I moved here to the United States, but I had the same mentality. I'm like, these people, because back then I couldn't vote when Hugo Chavez got in power, but I was like, these people, the adults, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And the advantage I had at such a young age, I was 17, 18, and 22 when I moved to the United States. But when I was 22, I had already traveled a dozen of countries, you see. So I was able to see the world. I had the opportunity to see the ugly, the good, the amazing when I came to the United States. And unfortunately, many people don't have that opportunities either. Most of people live in their city, their state. They're going to work, coming back home. That's their world, and everything surrounds. That's their reality. And beyond that, they don't see how those laws can be so detrimental or are detrimental in other states and other cities. And so, it's definitely a very interesting thing when you look at it, and when you decide to go out of the shell. Sometimes there's no stopping because you're like, yeah, this is so messed up. I need to move. So it's complex.
For sure.
So
it definitely is.
Go back to you said at 17 you had traveled a lot of countries, and I'm assuming that's the time you were in the Olympics and doing shooting around the world. So
right.
That's pretty cool at that age. And I think I read something that you were practicing 3-5 hours a day in shooting.
Yeah. I was at 16 was my first international competition, and I won my first medal, international medal in Peru. And so, yeah, I was very young. I was just dedicated to it. And this is the thing I always, think about that. Like, look at me like Venezuela. No, look at me like Gabby, Franco from Top Shot or shooting, or just look at me as me, the 16-year-old who lived overseas, who most people would think, obviously, Venezuela is a third world country. And yet I was able to use firearms. I was taught properly. And you would say, oh, maybe, like in the United States, some people say, oh, those people who use firearms like in sports are because they're privileged. I'm like, or I was privileged in Venezuela for whatever reason. You can think that. And then I always say, okay, what about the other athletes who competed with me? What about the other young athletes shooters who competed with me around the world, who were also 17, 18, 19, 20? What were the difference? It's just education. So, I was very young shooting firearms in another country with a different culture and have my own different reality. But yet the reality within firearms was the same. Safety, education, responsibility, accountability. So all those things mattered.
Yeah, that's awesome. And before I forget, which we actually did forget to start right off the get-go, we're going to be the code for the giveaway for anybody that's watching. $250 Mantis X, as well as a $439 next level training cert. So meetthepressers.com/giveaway if anybody wants to get in on either of those giveaways. One lucky winner for each this month.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely.
Can't thank our sponsors enough, both Next Level Training and Mantis.
They are. I really parlaying this right into training. When I first got the Mantis, I left it out on my kitchen table for a long time, and I would be making my coffee and dry firing. And yeah, any chance I had, I was able to pull this out and do some dry firing across the house. And then I put it in my range bag, and it sat there for a couple of months. And I'm like, you know what? I need to take this out and put it back on the table. So we. Snake here has a really good question. What do we do now? Because voting out and relying on the courts doesn't seem to be the winning tactic, considering the politicians are defying and ignoring the laws and the courts. Here's my take. Right, I live in a state where when the Bruin decision came out, the governor came out and said, "Oh, we're not going to pay attention to Bruin. We're already paying attention to Bruin," and in Massachusetts at the time, the town police could put restrictions on firearms if they didn't want people to carry them. So they said, we're already doing this because they don't have to come up. Some of the police would want a reason. Some of the police did not want a reason. Then the day after that, the Roe versus Wade decision came down and said, hey, it's not a federal thing, it's a state thing. And then our governor, who's an anti-gun liberal wacko, came out and said, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to pay attention on that decision either. If you want to have an abortion, you can have an abortion. We're not going to make that illegal." So, getting to the point, what the my attorney, my governor, I call her my AGG, my anti-gun governor, was my AGAG, my anti-gun attorney general. And when the chief law enforcement comes out and says, don't pay attention to the law, where I'm not going to pay attention to the laws, and then becomes the governor, the leader of the state, comes out and says, I'm not going to pay attention to the laws. It sounds to me like I'm not going to pay attention to the laws. If it's okay for you to break the laws, is it okay for me to break the laws? And if we're all breaking the laws, then what do we even need to have laws for?
Right. We need them.
I don't know if you guys ever saw this. There was some sort of a graphic, and it was one of these plush charts where they're like, here's where the left is, and here's where the right is, and here's where the libertarians are, and here's where the anarchists are, and the anarchists, and here's the communists are way over on the left. I always thought that was interesting, but the more I become a libertarian, I'm like, you know what? If you're not no one's going to pay attention to laws, then what do we need them for? And then I'm like, how close am I to becoming an anarchist? Right?
That's so
and
true.
That's a little scary.
Yeah. Just leave me alone, government. Leave me alone.
Right. That's really what it comes down to.
So, Gabby, give us some thoughts on Walther. Walther has been a sponsor of mine in the past. I've gotten some guns and used them for competition, so I love the Walther guns. Are amazing. Let us know a little bit about the history with you and Walther, and what you're running now, both self-defense and also for competitions.
So I've been with Walther now for about 6 years, I think. 4 or 5 years. I don't even know now. Probably 4 years. I think we're about to renew contract for 2 more years. But but our history goes back when I used to shoot Olympic shooting. So I used to shoot a Walther GSP for 22 caliber to shoot sport pistol. That was a discipline, and I shot with that pistol at the Olympics. And the funny thing is that, or my thing was that, there were some other brands like Morini, Pardini, and these pistols that I can remember, they will always jam. 22s are kind of finicky, and they look a little bit very kind of fancy. My pistol look very, if you look at the model, the GSP is very, I don't know, very straightforward. Nothing fancy, nothing, special. But that gun ran like a champ. Like I would never have jams. And I just stuck with that pistol for the longest time. And that was the pistol that my coach, I had 2 coaches, one from Cuba and one from the Republic of Georgia. And both of them, for both of them, that was their preferred pistol. So fast forward to now, like almost 20 years later, after the Olympic Games, me competing with that pistol, that's when Walther contacted me and said, hey, Gabby, we love what you're doing. We love you as a person, as an athlete, and everything. And they wanted to be part of the team. I was like, yes. I mean, if you ask me, then that, like, the 17-year-old Gabby, in Venezuela, that in 20 years, that brand, that pistol that you like so much, it was going to be your sponsor, I would have never believed you. So it's been amazing how it just came back in a circle, almost like, I don't know, daydreaming. That will be the dream as you as a kid. If you play baseball, if you want to be playing in the big leagues, or if you basketball, whatever, or tennis player, that Nike is going to be your sponsor. I don't know.
Sure. It was surreal. That's pretty cool. So, so what are you rocking? What do you carry for self-defense, your EDC, and then what do you shoot for competitions when it comes to that?
Right now I'm shooting for carry. I use the PPQ, which I'm about to change to a new one that may or may not be coming. I don't know anything about that. But so that I use right now I have the subcompact 9mm, and for competitions I use the PDP F series, which I'm proud to say that I was part of the team who helped make this pistol together. And one of the things that Walther says, which is true, is that when I gave training to law enforcement, female law enforcement, and they were shooting a 45 6 hour. I mean, it was a monster gun, and these ladies were doing good considering, the massive gun. And I always thought, okay, which guns? And I went through the list, and I have small hands. I was like, man, there must be a way that you can have a firearm that can be also that work well for small hands, for medium small hands. And so sure enough, I mentioned that my thoughts with Walter. I told him what I was thinking, and they never said anything. There's okay, thank you, Gabby. Well, sure enough, they called me later, like I don't know, like a year later. Gabby, we want you to come back here. We want to show you something. And they present me the first frame, and they want me to help them with the final touch if it felt good. I was like, oh my God. Sometimes you talk to these companies and you think that they're not listening to you. So that, I guess that's the thing that I also love about Walter. Their communication is very, they really listen, and there's many things that obviously for obvious reasons they cannot disclose just openly, but the fact that they took the time they to listen to me, to my opinion of what could be great, and they developed this pistol, and it's worked well for not only women but for men. Oh my goodness, men are buying this gun like
hotcakes.
A lot. Yes, they do.
So is that the Gabby model? Is that...
No, I don't take so much credit. I like I always say, these guys, the engineers, what they did with this gun is like this. The fact that they can put and I can actually, I'm prepared.
Look at that.
I'm always prepared. So I want to show you.
Uno momento. Can she pull out a real gun?
Can I? No.
Actually, not on YouTube. That's right. Good catch, Charlie. I was like, show, please show. But yeah.
Hold on a second. I have an idea.
Okay, tell us.
Gabby, I'm going to take you off the screen. While you're off the screen, I want you to take the gun out, and I want you to put it on the shelf to your left.
Oh. Can you stage it up on the shelf to your left?
Yes. Can you stage it on the left?
It may take a little time, but that's okay. Let me tell you right quick what, I don't know, probably. We can try.
Or, if you're not holding it, if you just open the case up like this without touching it, with that, I don't know.
Well, it's just I don't have anything to
I'm just saying in your hands, though, if you just held it like this.
No, like, could you just, you tilt the gun on the barrel in the grip and set it like this?
I'll try.
All right. We'll be back. Oh, well,
okay.
We'll be here. Gabby will be back. All right, give it a try. All right. While Gabby is gone, we've got a couple people. We got a couple people chiming in here. David Moultrup said he was shooting a 22 Winchester mag with the ammo that's cheap, and people wanted to check it out, which is really, really cool. And we're gonna bring Gabby back. Hey! What do you know? It's the magic of StreamYard, which is not a sponsor, but we're glad that we're on StreamYard so we can make this happen.
So one of the things that the Walter did, this is the same concept of the regular of the standard PDP, Walter PDP model. But one thing what they did was that they reduced the trigger bar to not only make the grip smaller, but bring the trigger back to people who have medium to small fingers. So normally when I grip a gun, right, I have to adjust my grip to reach the trigger. Okay, I have to put more finger. This pistol, I just grip like this, and my fingers like this with the trigger. It is, and look when I do this, how small it is. Yeah. My hands. And so when I saw that, and this is the interesting thing, I was so used to shooting these, wide firearms, pistols. Like I used to shoot the Q5 steel frame. That when I got this one, it felt weird. It was like, this is
so accustomed to
feels
it.
right. It feels so audibly, and at the same time, you know that it's right because if you have a that grip, you know that it's right. But no, they did an amazing job with that pistol. So
Yeah,
very proud to put my little grain. I mean, I don't take all the credit because what these engineers did, I take my hat off.
yeah, for sure. You made a point earlier as far as that with the engineers and how much time they put into it and their geniusness.
Yeah.
And it really, it's interesting how many people will take a gun that a manufacturer spends millions of dollars designing and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to engineers, if not millions, to design it, and they'll take it and they'll, Gucci Glock it, or they'll just throw all these parts in it and then carry it around for a self-defense gun thinking that it's going to work the same. I'm like, nah, man.
No.
My PPQ, which is what I carry for my duty gun for law enforcement, and then PPS is what I carry off duty. And both of them I have done nothing to, not a single thing. They still got the original sights that came with it. And I'm shooting at 25 yards and I'm getting 250 out of 250 perfect score when I qualify. And I qualify 3 times a year for law enforcement, retired law enforcement, and security. And I use both guns every year to qualify. And, I'm shooting them stock right out of the box, the way they sent them to me.
And to your point, I'll never forget the same thing I do for my concealed carry guns. I never change anything. And to your point, I can't remember almost as if it was today. It was probably 10 years ago. I was in the car and I was listening to the radio and they were talking about a case where the lawyers were trying to convince the jury or explain or debate against the prosecution that the guy's trigger job did not really influence much to the fact. And so the point to me it changed my worldview on that because I'm thinking, okay, now this is not just about, comfort, quick trigger press. It's about that if you press the trigger, like so a lawyer told me once, every time you press the trigger, put in your head $20,000. Ching, 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 ching. Because if it's self-defense or not, you may or may not end up in that situation. So, I don't remember how that case ended up or what happened because it was just in the radio and I was driving, but that really changed my worldview on that. I was like, oh, well, you're going to be probably judged for some people who have no idea of what firearms are, and a difference of 1 pound is not going to make a hell of a difference, but they may think, oh no, they tried to make it for quicker shots or faster shots. And
what I'll say in my classes is that if you modify your gun less than a 4-pound trigger, which is what Masada usually suggests not going below, now they're going to try to make it seem like you were trying to make that gun a competition gun, which is a game. And if you're playing a game, you're playing a game with with lives.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good point. Moss said there was some cases that he's been brought in on that came up. That's why he says nothing under 4 pounds. 4 pounds or more for a self-defense gun.
Right, or even better, don't touch it. Just leave it alone.
Right. And don't modify the don't modify the connector or anything. Just stop.
It's amazing how real life, situations can open up your eyes, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many people out there that just don't get that. They think, well, the law says, and my favorite thing is just because the law says you may doesn't mean you must. And there's case law. Tennessee versus Gardner is a perfect case law where, that officer did everything by the book, both law and SOP, yet it went up to the Supreme Court. And, that changed the tides for us in law enforcement and how we handle things.
Right.
For sure. I want to go back to one of the earlier comments from Brian Barnes. Brian says, hey, Matt, Charlie, and Gabby. I met Gabby at the DC Project get-together in New Jersey 2 years ago and got to hear some of her experiences in person. It was a good night, and I enjoy my PPQ. M2. I do want to say that I met Gabby there as well. I filmed a show with her, and Brian says nothing about meeting me. Okay, I see how it is. I see how it is. Yeah. Everybody wants to meet the gals. Absolutely.
Well, of course.
I know that day, Charlie. Yeah, hop in my car. We're going to be driving and do an interview. Right. I'm like looking at everybody. Do you guys know this guy? Like, okay, I'm not going to hop in the car. Yeah. I'm like,
I'm gonna
I'm
put
like, where's my gun, my knife?
right. We're in New Jersey, for goodness sakes. So she's like, I'm gonna put the tracker on my phone, and
Yeah.
where's my phone? If I'm not back in
Yeah.
47
Yeah.
minutes, come
Yeah.
looking for me.
It's Charlie Cook, not Charlie Cookie.
Yeah,
Wait.
right.
Right.
Somebody said one time they asked if I was Charlie Kirk,
Kirk.
the young commentator,
Oh,
political commentator. I'm like, yeah, no, no, no,
I don't
That's funny.
know.
That is funny.
Good stuff.
it's definitely. So, Gabby, you've I've been watching you on all the social medias. You've had you had like a meniscus or something replaced. You
No,
had some
no, no.
surgery. Wow.
Yes, yes. So a year ago, exactly a year ago, I torn my ACL. I was doing martial arts. Now, the story sounds, as always, sounds better than what it actually was. And
What, you weren't doing a roundhouse kick?
hey, I'm gonna tell you my story, okay?
She was kicking around the house.
I'm gonna tell you my story, okay? So I'm in the martial arts class, and I'm having a great time. And the teacher's saying, "Oh man, you're so good. You're natural." And I'm like, "Perfect." And then, you know where I'm going, right? And then we're gonna do a kind of competition between girls and boys. And so who was gonna kick the punching bag, and we have to do it in rounds, right? And see, the first round one kick, the second round two kicks, and so on and so forth. And it happened to be that because I was a beginner, right? And it happens to be that the girls who were with me, they were all teenagers, and they were kicking like this. And I'm like, come on, let's do this. Let's go. We need to win this. The competitor in me just came out. And so I invoked the Bruce Lee. And I was ready to kick. And I kicked. And then my other knee, I felt doing this. I was like, oh no. That doesn't feel right. So long story short, a month later, it took a month. Later, I learned that I had torn ACL. And the funny thing is that the initial doctor visit, the doctor did the test, and she's like, oh, that seems fine. Just physical therapy. I'm like, no. And my husband was there with me. And it's so funny because my husband was like this, oh my Lord, this is going to happen. Because the doctor was like, no, PT, whatever. I'm like, you send me to MRI because I want my MRI. And sure enough, it was a torn ACL, and I had my surgery March this month, so 6 months ago.
Wow. And how you doing on the recovery? I know I had a medial meniscus tear from my time in the Army, and that took me a year. But I'm a baby when I get sick and stuff. My wife can vouch for that.
So I don't know, Charlie, I don't know if you remember, but I graduated in May from my bachelor's in psychology. So if you don't know psychology, we do a lot of research. So that's what I did for my surgery, and not only for my surgery, but for my situation. Like, what did studies, like actual studies, scientific studies did on athletes that had torn ACLs? What were the best practices? What did they do? How long they train, and so on and so forth. So through my research, I was able to prepare myself for surgery. So most people think, oh no, so when I get the surgery, then I'm gonna get better. No, you have to prepare yourself way in advance. So one of the research that I can remember said that if my quad, the one from the injured leg, was at least 90% than how it was before the injury, at the time of the surgery, then I had a high probability to recover faster. What happened is that most people, when they get these injuries, they stop. And I get it because it hurts, right? So they start working out, they don't do anything. So what happens? It becomes, they thin out, atrophy in their muscles, both, not only that leg, but the other one too. Because if you start working out, guess what? Both all the muscles are going to suffer. So what I did was, and again, I only had a torn ACL. Everything else seemed fine through the MRI. And so I did a lot of rowing, in the rowing machine,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
in the rower machine. I was doing 5,000, 6,000 meters every day.
Wow.
Almost, I was doing about almost 5 times a week, at
Jeez.
least I was doing. And also another thing I learned through my research is that most people, when you think about the knee, you focus your attention to the knee, right? Oh, my knee hurts, my knee this, and so on and so forth. Most of the knee issues comes because of weakness in your hips.
Huh.
Okay.
So if you reinforce your hips and your glutes, then you're less likely to suffer from knee issues. So yeah, it sounds like weird.
No, it's all
Yeah,
connected.
so right. And so I started doing exercise simple as this. Imagine that this is my leg, right? And I'm standing. So exercises like this, sideways, back, front, and to the side. Simple as that every day, about 30 to 50 repetitions every day. Well, and another thing that I also figured out with my preparation is that I thought, well, if after surgery my quad on my injured leg, if my quad is gonna turn into jello because it literally, the muscle disappears per se, all that strength, you have to rebuild it, you know. And so I thought, if I am strong now, I'm not only strong that leg, but the rest of my body. So when it's time to get this muscle back up to, from zero, like I cannot even lift my leg because I had nothing per se, I know that the other 85% of my body is going to help in my recovery. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And so this is how important are the hips. One day after surgery, so when that day when I came home from after surgery, my foot was like a numb, like it was like this. I couldn't feel a thing, right?
Wow.
So I had to use my crutches. I could not put my foot on, not even on the ground, or put my weight on it, because I was like, I could break something else because I cannot feel anything. That was my thought. But a day after, when my foot kind of woke up, like I could feel things, I was walking without crutches.
Wow.
And I think it's because of all the work I did for my hips and my glutes. Because remember, my leg was in a brace, locked. Okay? And so I was able to, my hips was the only thing, and my glutes moving that leg. And so I learned in that moment, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I was able to see it. You probably don't see it when you're in normal walking and don't see the benefit of your hips or reinforcing your hips and your glutes. But at that moment, when I one day after surgery, I was able to walk without crutches. I was like, okay, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah,
That is.
that's pretty incredible. I had it's not even close. I had a back surgery a bunch of years ago, and I was hobbling around I had a walker that I would use inside my house, and then when I would go out, I would use a cane. And man, it was tough. It was a little tough mentally, because
Mhm.
I'd see people walking, and I wished I was walking, and I didn't have any problems, and then I would forget what it was like, to not have these issues. It's like when you have a stuffed up nose, you're like, oh my gosh, if I could only breathe. And then when
Breathe.
you don't have a stuffed up nose, you're like, yeah, whatever.
Take it for granted. Yeah.
Yeah.
To your point about the psychological part of it, it's totally true. Now, what I didn't do psychological preparation during and after surgery. I did it before surgery. So I knew I knew that, okay, I knew that I knew nothing about it, okay? Meaning I have never been I never had a surgery before, okay? I only had ideas through research what could happen, what were the best things that could happen, but I didn't know how my body was going to respond. I didn't know if I was going to, be super good or not. So I knew nothing. So how did I prepare myself for that? I said I'm going to set goals. Okay. One of the first thing I told my husband, I said, I am going to defy the odds. That's my first thing I said. I told him, I will defy the odds with this. And the second thing I said was like, I will start competing, even if I cannot run. I'm going to start competing and I'm going to sign up to a major match. Not because I was going to be able to win or to run, but I knew I needed something. I needed something to look forward to.
Definitely,
And that's something that, like, that little, short-term goal that would keep me with light spirit. Started right, I think 2 weeks before surgery. I committed into a 6-week training I was gonna give, and I give to people for 6 weeks, even when I was through surgery, because I knew the first, I knew in the sense that I assumed it was not gonna be easy. Okay, going through surgery, pain, whatever it could have come through me. And so I figured if I can push to a month, so I started 2 weeks before, 4 weeks, that would be my 6 weeks. So I knew a month is probably a good threshold into that you probably have passed the worst thing, probably, possibly, right? And so I said, I'm gonna commit to it. So I committed to every week creating trainings and sending trainings, even if I was tired, even if I was in pain. I was like, I already told these people to sign up because I want to give them this. As much as I was giving them something, they were giving me more than they ever imagined. Because to me was the commitment, the fact that they received feedback from them, the fact that they were doing it, the fact that they were checking the emails, and that kept me going. So if anything, I can tell anybody that if you're gonna go through surgery, or something that you don't know exactly what it's going to be, but you possibly it's gonna be hard, you have to set goals. Even if they're not super attainable. Like, I signed up for nationals, and I went to nationals 4 months after surgery. And that was tough because I saw everybody running. Nationals. And I was like, walking. I was like, I'm going to be dead last. But to me, it was bigger than most people could ever imagine. People saw results, right? People you could see, you can go back 3 years from now, look at those nationals, and you can see, oh, here's she last, she was here. And what I have, like, the joy that I was able to be there, that I had, God gave me the opportunity to do that.
You miss things that you love. And what's the saying? If you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That whole saying. So I can just sympathize there. When I had my neck surgery, like, it was, I can't remember how it was, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. I was out for a while, and it just felt so debilitating that I wasn't going to be able to do the things that I normally do. And I'm always doing something, the OCD, ABC, all that stuff that I got. And, I remember one time when you mentioned the hip, I remember probably about 15 years ago, I'm sitting on the couch. I go to stand up, and my hip locked up. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I literally cried because I literally felt like, "Whoa, what am I?"
Powerless.
Right? Like, I've never had anything like that happen, and ever since then, my hip will pop every once in a while. So I'm interested. I think I need to do some hip.
I'll let you know all about it. It's very simple, but it's it's amazing. To give you an example, like I said, my muscle, my quad, it looked like a I mean, a very flimsy, almost like bone and, flimsy muscle. However, the side of my hip, you could see the bump where that muscle existed. So it looked like a bump on the side, not even, on the side. Like while this leg was straight and the other one was like bump and that, because that muscle was developed. And that's what helped me walk. So it is definitely fascinating. But those, and another thing I think is so important, and I guess that comes down to, I mean, I'm a faithful, I mean, I have my faith, and through all my hardships in life, because most people only saw me, see me or know me top shot and hear that, but I have had very, very, very tough times in my life, and I always say that, it's just God, Jesus, that puts those things in front of me and that prepares me for the biggest things. I always approach things in that way, that what is it I can learn now? We can say surgery, like you have your back surgery, you have your neck surgery, I have my knee surgery, and here where we are, right? Yeah. I mean, sure. In that moment seems like it's the worst thing in the world, because we as humans, we generally just see as far as our hand is, right? What is in that moment? What do I feel in that moment? But it's being able to, like I said, setting those goals, because there's a bigger power out there that is just for you. You can do it. You can prepare yourself and make it better. So to me, that also play a big my faith plays a big role, and I believe in how my success. Now, when we think success as medals or that stuff, to me all that is irrelevant. Believe it or not, 15 minutes of fame, to me that's useless. To me is that who you are as a person. It's what moves you forward.
Yeah.
I like to say that that we're all this tangible stuff, none of this tangible stuff we can take to the grave with us. And to that factor too, the bad guy that wants to steal it from you, rob you for it, burglarize your house, they can't take it to the grave either. So in the defensive side of it, like, why are we getting into a fight over something that neither of us can take to the grave when maybe one of us or both of us go to the grave? So even in that aspect, I think we're here for relationships more than anything. And it's sad that a lot of this tangible stuff and money and all that, the love of money is the root of all evil, gets to people, and it hurts, tarnishes relationships and such.
Right.
For sure. All right. So I have a crazy question for you, Gabby.
Yes.
Are you going to turn this experience into another book?
Ooh. I should. There are so many books I want to write, and I just need to sit down and write them, and I can mention them all. Like, I kid you not. But yeah, I've been thinking about getting more into getting a second book for my shooting manual. Mm-hmm. More about the mental aspect of shooting, mental dynamics of shooting. I used to do a lot of seminars about it, and possibly a memoir or something. But yeah, believe it or not, as you mentioned, that's actually part of my goals. I also like to write fiction. Fiction with no fiction. I like to read fiction like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But I like to write about fiction that is more real, more tangible. So I have some crazy ideas, and I think crazy ideas in fiction is great.
So you heard it here first.
We'll see.
Gabby's going to be putting out more books.
And you know what? I have to say it so I can be like, now you said it. Now you have to do it.
Right. That's setting that game plan for sure.
We need to slate this video. So we've got some people. I'm sure you saw the comments. People that are huge fans of yours, and Jeannie here says that you need to be you should be a role model. So I think if we had a cartoon version of Gabby, that would be really cool for us to get out.
Cartoon book for the kids.
Yeah, like. I think that would be very cool.
I agree.
Thank you,
We
thank you.
we do. I hate. We've got time left, but we do have a hard out because Gabby's got family commitments.
Yes.
I want to go back to one of these comments that somebody asked earlier
Mm-hmm.
about the DC project getting renamed,
Yeah, I saw that.
and it has got renamed. It is now Women for Gun Rights, and I actually texted one of our friends, and I said, I don't know, I saw something teal, and I sent her a picture of it, and I said, is this a good thing for the WFGR? And she's like, what is that? And I'm like, Women for Gun Rights, and she's like, oh yeah. Um, so they were in DC this week.
Yes.
Are you still involved in the DC project, Women for Gun Rights?
Yeah, I collaborate with any organization that works for the Second Amendment. I was there with them yesterday.
Oh,
I
cool.
didn't post, yeah, I didn't post pictures. I probably need to post those. We had few visit with a senator. He actually were able to meet him. We visited, I think, with me. I think we did 4 meetings.
Nice.
And then I had to come back home because, like I told you guys earlier, with my husband, for those of you who don't know, who are watching, is active duty and in the military, and he's an
And he's
army.
active.
Yes, and
Army.
so he's in a training, and that have changed a lot in my schedule. But anyways, so I was able to do that with the ladies yesterday, and it's always an honor to go out there and talking to legislators
Mm.
and in support of the Second Amendment. And it was a surprise for me too that they changed their name because I'm used to the DC Project. But I think in a way it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, because when you say DC Project, what is the DC Project?
You have to explain it's Women for Gun Rights.
Right. And so that is targeted, is direct to the point. You don't have to guess, you don't have to think, you
Right.
just have to say it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It makes sense, definitely. A bigger picture, if you will. I always say with the USCCA and the NRA, they probably would have thought about renaming their company or making it something different if they decided to get into handguns or long guns,
Mm.
Right.
right?
It is always, sometimes those organizations, they start with a great idea, and sometimes they are born with something small and then turns this into these monsters. And
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? The DC Project was lucky enough that is in that growth process, and that can make those changes.
Mhm.
But I don't think, like the NRA doesn't affect it whether you are a pistol shooter or a
Yeah.
rifle shooter.
Everybody knows
You,
NRA. They don't think National Rifle Association. They don't really spell it out like that.
right.
Right. Right. Right. Right. All right. What else do we have? We have some time left. I do want to plug that we are doing a giveaway before 8:30. So if you have not emailed or sent an email or gone to meetthepressers.com/giveaway, you need to go there and enter so that you can enter to win a Cert pistol or a Mantis X, which are our sponsors, and we're grateful for them for all they've given us for us over. We've been doing the show for like what, a year and a half?
Something like that. Yeah. We just renewed the
Nice.
Has it
StreamYard,
even
so it's.
wait? Has it even been that yard long?
I think it has. Yeah. I know we just renewed StreamYard for another year recently, so it's been over a year for sure. So we're pushing.
Oh, that's
probably-
right. We did a Christmas show last year. Yeah, it's been
Mhm.
about a year and a half. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Very
That's
cool.
pretty
Yeah, that's
cool.
right. It was Christmas
Yeah.
show, and so
Well,
it's
if you
just
don't mind, I would like to, my other sponsors, Primary Arms. They
love
are
'em. Love 'em.
huge, huge, huge supporters. Even through surgery and everything, they have been very gracious, understanding. I still stay on the loop of everything and doing other things. But I'm very, very thankful for their support, of course,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well as Walter.
Yeah, Primary Arms. I just got a scope from Ken. He sent me a scope for a video I'm doing for Mantis, for Tactical Life. I've got a suppressor of theirs coming in, and then a scope from Primary Arms. And Henry sent me their one of their 4570 lever actions. So I'm going to do a collaborated video for all of them.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
Primary's cool.
Very cool. Someone just asked, what is the code? Robert, the code is Gabby, Gabby.
Yep. It's right at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, right down there. So Primary Arms Walther. What else do you have coming up this year, Gabs?
Well, just training, just doing my stuff, and as much as I can, and kind of, and that's the thing, it's situations like this, a life change you, and you are like, oh my goodness, but it's his family, it's a military life, and what do? You adapt.
Yep.
So that's some of the ideas of writing my new shooting manual. That's probably one of it. My husband is in this training for 10 months, and he has been in it for only 3, so I still have 7 months to go, and who knows what's happened when he gets in his new rank or position or whatever. Right. So I'm still imagining myself and doing things in the process. I mean, I'm always open with that. Like I told Primary Arms and Walther, hey, this is what it is. What can you do? Support. I mean, I love my family, and my family is always first. But as you can see, I'm always doing stuff and adapting. That's like I tell people, you just have to. Even when things are different, when you feel like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? What I'm normally do, I cannot do that. You can always look ways if you're open to do that. It's often that we get blocked up, like, oh, that's it, and no, the world is so, so open to many things. To give you an example, and I'm gonna say this quickly. When I was normally competing before my injury, I was full USPSA. When I got injured, and for a moment I thought, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? Because I had to cancel a bunch of major matches and stuff, and just the fact I was gonna get surgery and all that stuff, right? But at the same time, it opened my eyes to other activities, PRS, because I didn't have to move too much, or doing a little bit of steel challenge, because I didn't have to run or anything like that. And so, and what I'm trying to say is that often we go in life like this, and there's a lot of things that we miss in the way. And situations like this, instead of blocking ourselves and seeing only, the sadness and the difficult situation that we're at, that's the moment that we have to open our eyes and open our ears and just be vigilant, because all those ideas that you never thought about because you were busy doing that one thing, they'll start coming up to you. So.
For sure. Yeah, the two most powerful senses we have, hearing and seeing. Sometimes we take them for granted.
For sure.
Super. Well, it's been awesome talking with you tonight and catching up. And
yes, thank you for hopping on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
We need to have you pick a number.
We're actually
tell us,
Charlie. I was thinking, because it's the middle of the month, why don't we push it out and give a couple more weeks for people to sign up, since we just had this tonight. Sweeten the pool a little bit more.
All right, very cool. So everybody that is watching or listening should go to meetthepressers.com/giveaway, and we will give away something later this month. Speaking of later this month, on November the 1st, I know it's really next month, but it's only 2 weeks away. We're going to be doing another live show from 8 to 9 p.m. with Laura Carno from Faster, Colorado. She's also got a book out that is called Government Ruins Nearly Everything. So please tune in for that.
I do.
Gabby, what else do you need to plug? Where can people find you and all of your stuff and the amazing things you're doing?
Yes, you can see me on GabbyFranco.com. I'm trying to write more on my blog. That's a good way that I'm trying to, the writing part. You can also find me on Facebook, Gabby Franco Top Shot. On Instagram, Gabby Franco TS4 for Top Shot 4. So, I appreciate you guys. Just send me messages or emails or like my posts or anything. I appreciate it.
Definitely. And thanks
cool.
for your the service for the support and stuff with the your husband. It's not
course.
easy. Our
No.
son-in-law just got back from being gone for 6 months in the Navy, so it's not easy.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else we need to plug? If you're not subscribed to Writing Shotgun with Charlie and to Meet the Pressers on YouTube, you need to do that. If you are not following us on YouTube, shame on you. You need to do that as well. And check out Meet the Pressers. They got a YouTube channel. There's a podcast. Check out Writing Shotgun with Charlie on YouTube and on podcast. And we thank everyone for tuning in. Gabby, we thank you for coming in. And there's her
Smile.
notification. I thought that was her notification to say 8:30. We gotta go. Kids gotta go to
8:30.
bed.
Yes.
So
It's been awesome.
yes, it's been great, Gabby. Thank you so much, everyone else. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will draw another name. We will draw a name by the end of the month, and we'll get that out to people. And we'll do a little. We'll make some sort of a post and share it again, so more people can get signed up for this. Thank you all so much. Anything else?
Signing out.
Thank you.
We're out. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you soon.